All right, welcome back. So, tonight the playoff picture I think got a little bit clearer in the north. If I was doing the video tomorrow about which team I'd want to play in the playoffs, that the video I did earlier today, I'd have 4 Canadian teams on the board. That'd be it. And I think, yeah, I think that dividing line is here, and I'm going to get into why. Because I think what we saw tonight, and we'll talk about it. All right, so we'll start off with Montreal and Calgary. Montreal needed to win this game. They didn't have to. Montreal could have lost this game against Calgary and they still could have gone home knowing that their fate was still in their hands. But getting 1 out of 3 in Calgary, well, that's not optimal. They really wanted to go in and win all 3 and then just bury them. And also bury the Canucks. But this win tonight is important. And Caulfield hype, a lot of hype about Caulfield. I'm going to say this about Cole Caulfield. He's small on the ice. He's a small player. It is remarkable with some of the taller players in Montreal when he's out on the ice. It's like you bring your little brother to play. So and that makes me a fan of his. That makes me a fan of his as a man of smaller stature. That makes me a fan of his automatically. And so was his debut tonight. The shots were only 1-1 at 5 minutes. Both teams playing kind of defensive hockey, and we had that tonight in 2 of the 3 Canadian games. And the other one, McDavid said, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna get 100 points because I can." So Dubé fires one wide. Perry was stirring things up, draws a crowd. All he did was the puck went over the glass, and it bounces to him, and so he kind of flips it at Markstrom, which is no big deal. Sure, puck, and then he tries to play it like I didn't know it was out of play. Come on, dude, seriously. You've been in the league a while, you know that was out of play. But he's just stirring the pot. The Habs then get their first power play. It becomes a 5-on-3, and they score during the 5-on-3 at Shea Weber from Tatar and Petrie at 9:59. 7 seconds later, becomes a 4-on-4. Then the Flames get a power play, and they score on theirs. Lindholm from Goudreau and Mangiapane at 12:17. The Habs would then try to answer. The interesting thing is, the shots 5-on-5 in this period were really low. So those 2 goals are scored on the power play each way, but actual chances in that period were rare. So we go to the second period. Monahan had a chance it was stopped. The shots were 6-3 in favor of the Flames at 7 minutes, so they'd almost equaled the total shots in the first period between both teams 7 minutes into that. The Habs would press around the 8-minute mark. Flames had pressure as well with 5.5 left. Neither team was giving much space. There was not a whole lot to write about. Because both teams were playing really well defensively. Suzuki tips one high at a play. Markstrom then robbed Toffoli once, but on the second try, Toffoli puts it home. From Armia and Suzuki at 18:05. So that made it 2-1. The last minute of the period, the Flames get a power play. We go into the third period, and there was an interesting question asked at the start of the third period. When you're on a power play to start the period, should the opening face-off for that period be in the zone of the team that's killing the penalty? And I never really heard that suggested, and I thought, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. Because very often when you've got a short power play to start a period, it's going to get killed off. Now, I understand people are going to say, hey, face-offs at center ice to start a period, or that's sacred. That's fine. But it's an interesting idea. So the Habs did kill off the remainder, Allen making some big saves with the lead. Tatar had a chance, it was stopped. Markstrom robbed Tatar on the next opportunity for him. Giordano had a point shot. That was saved by Allen. Habs get the power play. Interestingly enough, Cole Caulfield, first unit on that power play. And he didn't look out of place either. He looked pretty good. Post for Giordano after that was killed off. The Flames then get a power play. That was a no. John Merrill with a net drive nearly works. Merrill wants a goal. He had a couple opportunities tonight to get one. They pull the goalie with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. The Flames would then call a timeout with 17 seconds left. Whatever was discussed doesn't work. They drop it 2-1, and that's devastating to their playoff hopes. Montreal goes to 21-17-9. Calgary drops to 21-24-3. 3 stars in this one: Toffoli, Giordano, and Weber. And then the shots were 6-5 in favor of Calgary in the first, 8 apiece in the second, 11-8 Montreal in the third. Final shots 24-22 for Montreal. Power plays, both teams go 1 for 3. The hits were 17-11 Calgary. Block shots 14-10 for Calgary. Wasn't quite as tough of a game. I'd expected a little more fire, especially when Perry was stirring things up early, but didn't really turn out. Allen, 21 saves on 22 shots, and Markstrom, 22 saves on 24 shots. And again, for Montreal, yeah, that's That's probably going to do it, because winning in regulation especially. Now, for Colorado, there's concern. I have legit concern when it comes to Colorado right now. I understand that it's hard to stay at that level all year, and you're going to have dips here and there. And St. Louis needs these games, right? St. Louis clearly has decided, well, why don't we just take fourth place? It's there. Why don't we just go and get it? 11 forwards, 7 defensemen for the Blues. Makes sense since their defensemen are getting injured a lot. Krug did play, though. Early, Blues were blocking Avs' chances. Thomas had a break. Johansson made the saves there. The Blues pressed in 8.5 minutes. They had some near misses there, so while this score's lopsided, it could have been way worse if the Blues' shooting had been a little more accurate early on. First power play goes to the Blues, and they score on it. It's Tarasenko from Krug and Hoffman at 9:25. And I said when they signed Torrey Krug, you're going to love him on the power play. Shen would then score from O'Reilly and Perron at 13:34. That made it 2-0. The Blues were neutralizing the fast breaks for the Avs, and the McKinnon line had a really hard time getting things going tonight. Late power play for the Avs. That is unsuccessful. To start the second, the Blues would finish the penalty kill. Big save on a McKinnon shot by Binnington, who was fantastic tonight. Heavy Blues pressure on an Avs turnover, and eventually they're going to get another goal. Perron from Falk and O'Reilly at 7:02. Perfect tip shot by David Perron. That makes it 3-0 in favor of the Blues. And where were these Blues, say, 3 weeks ago? If they'd been playing this way a few weeks ago, they would have already sewn up fourth place in the division and maybe be threatening third. The Avs then get a power play, and they do score on it. It's McKinnon getting on the board from Landeskog and Burakovsky at 8:24. So his point streak continues. But the Blues would try to answer, and they would successfully. It's Thomas who had opportunities in this game outside of this goal from Perron and Scandella at 10:53. Binnington stopped a chance for Sherwood before that period was out, but it's 4-1 for St. Louis after 2. Third period. Blues get a power play. That was a no. They weren't really trying to score in that third period. They just, I guess, looked at the clock, looked at the score, and went, we'll just kill it off. One shot. That was all they had in the first 7 minutes. McKinnon line being smothered. Every time they came through the middle of the ice, they just wasn't there. There was nothing happening. Shots were 6-1 for the Avs with 6.5 minutes left. So the Blues were taking this very seriously, the whole idea of not getting shots in that third period. Binnington made some saves. Blues playing the trap very well. And then there was a late Avs power play as well, but they're unable to get on the board with that. So your final score is 4-1 in favor of St. Louis. They go to 21-19-6. Colorado 31-11-4. And again, with other scores of games tonight, St. Louis not comfortable, but they're in a good position right now to end up being fourth in that division. 3 stars, Perron, Binnington, and Shen. Shots, 7-5 Colorado in the first, 15-12 Colorado in the second, 10-3 Colorado in the third. Final shots, 32-20 for Colorado, which doesn't tell the whole story. Power plays, 1-for-4 for Colorado, 1-for-2 for St. Louis. Block shots and hits. Well, the hits favored Colorado, 36-28. The block shots, 22-4 for St. Louis. So Colorado needed to block a little bit more than what they did. Johansson saves 16 out of 20. Rough night for him. Binnington saves 31 out of 32. He looked great. And, again, it was really about 5-on-5. They didn't allow a goal. That's impressive. With how strong that attack is for Colorado, not allowing a goal 5-on-5. Good game for St. Louis. Not too shabby. If not for what McDavid did tonight, I'd probably be wearing a Blues jersey for this review. That being said, I thought about wearing Ottawa as well. I think this is a sign of things to come for Vancouver. This is the 5th game in 9 nights. There were points during this game where they just were a little off. Shots were a little off. Passes were a little off. I'm not taking anything away from Ottawa on this game tonight, but you can see the Canucks are starting to wear down. That this schedule it's brutal. 19 games in 32 days. Early chances were for the Canucks. VC had a turnover, and then he recovered it. So that was nice that he turned it over, but he went back and got it back. Dzingel had a chance, was saved by Holtby. The Sens scored, but that was waved off for goalie interference. Momentum had shifted in the Sens' favor. There was a post for Formenton, and I thought, okay, that post, the Canucks are going to wake up. Nope. Norris scores from Tkachuk at 10:23. Then Virtanen and Dzingel had a fight on the ensuing faceoff, which I thought was weird. Now, Ulevy would tie it from Myers and Suter at 14:07. That's his second goal. And that made it 1-1. But in the last minute, there were chances for the Sens on a turnover in the Canucks zone. So this is what I started to see. Just passes aren't quite as crisp. They just seem to be a little bit short on what they need in order to win. And Ottawa was hitting them a lot in that game. Second period, early chances for the Sens. There was a post for Höglander during a 2-on-1. And then on the next 2-on-1, Höglander fired wide. Again, different parts of the season, both of those are probably buried. But this is where that fatigue will really show up. And then the next 3-on-2, Batherson had a shot that was blocked for the Senators. And then Batherson would score to make it 2-1 from Tkachuk at 11:41. The Sens then pressed for another. And this is where, again, it felt like things were kind of really, really in Ottawa's favor. Power play for the Sens, that was a no. There was a late power play for the Canucks. And there was a last-second goal line stand by Högberg. Almost went in. And again, it's that whole, well, if that goes in, it changes the whole game. But it didn't. Third period. Shots were 3-1 for the Sens at 8.5 minutes. Dadonov nearly sets one up. Canucks had some chances with 9 minutes left. Pinto blocked a good chance for Hughes. The Senators playing really solid defense. Högberg stopped a chance for Horvat. They would pull the goaltender, but they just were not able to generate that goal. Högberg stood on his head. Holtby had a very good game. It doesn't end up being a positive for the Canucks in this. They just could not get that second goal. So they lose the game 2-1. They drop to 19, 20, and 3. And again, this combined with the win for Montreal, that makes the point difference, 10 points? Yeah, so that's really it. I mean, if Montreal loses in regulation and Vancouver wins in regulation, we might have something to talk about. But yeah, for Ottawa, 18, 27, and 4 is their record. They're mathematically alive for the playoffs. It's not happening. All Montreal needs is 2 wins, and Ottawa's mathematically eliminated. 3 stars, Högberg, Tkachuk, and Chabot. That was something else I noticed with that video I did earlier today. People were like, you didn't put this team on the board, and they're not eliminated. No, but they are. They kind of sort of are. Shots, 11-8, Vancouver in the first, 13-6, Ottawa in the second, 9-6, Vancouver in the third. Final shots, 27-26 for Ottawa. Both teams went 0-for-1 on the power play. Really wasn't that kind of game where you had a lot of power plays. Hits, 34-25 for Ottawa. Block shots, 14-11 for Vancouver. Holtby, like I said, good game. 25 saves on 27 shots. Högberg, 25 saves on 26 shots. Look at that. Changing the goalie coach might have made a difference for Ottawa. Just like that. Just that quickly. Right? Sure. Why not? Next up, Carolina. So this was a really interesting game. This was a game of severe changes of momentum both ways. And I kind of felt really good during this game, and then I got kind of really nervous about it. And then in the end, I was kind of like, I don't know. I guess, they're still in this. So Dallas needs to win, and they're going to need some help. They're going to need for Nashville to cool off a bit. We'll get to Nashville, but I think coming out of tonight's action, while Dallas gets a good result, I think the odds of them making the playoffs take a little bit of a hit tonight. So they were wearing their Raves jerseys. I love the Raves. You know what's funny? The more I see of those black and neon green jerseys, the more I like them. I think they're really sharp. And yeah, I'm really, really liking them as time goes by here. Stars get a power play at 16 seconds into the game. Yeah, and then they score on it. It's Pavelski, puts it in off Hakanpää, from Robertson and Ben at 1 minute and 19 seconds. And in the first 5 minutes of this game, the Stars had a lot of jump. And then Carolina kind of answers that. Carolina's a very fast team, very good transition team. You've got to watch for that. Ottinger, solid start for him when the Canes were pushing back. The shots were 9-7 for the Canes at the half. So early on, Stars had the pressure, and then the next 5 minutes, it was a lot of Canes pressure. Nachas tried the lacrosse goal. He tried it. He's going to get one. It's going to happen, but he tried it. Which means if you're a Carolina Hurricane and if you're a bit of a hot dog, you've got to try that goal at some point. Canes then get a power play. They're unsuccessful, and before the period's out, Dickinson. He scores from Lindell and Ben at 16:59. Winning off his skate, but he didn't kick it, so there was no challenge on it. The Canes would get a late power play, but Dallas finishes out the period up 2-0. And I was happy because I thought they were a little bit fortunate. Ottinger was playing very well. The Canes, I thought, were right there with them, and if that period had been tied, it probably would have been more indicative of the overall play in the period. Second period, Pesce had a shot that was saved. Some good back-and-forth action early on. Ottinger, sound, relaxed. One thing I noticed with Ottinger, he's just so calm and cool in the net. He's been that way the whole year. I am completely fine with Jake Ottinger being the starting goaltender next year if that's what happens. Doesn't bother me at all. I think he'll be fine. It's interesting. You've got Boston with Swayman and now Ottinger in Dallas. Two of the teams I cheer for may very well be going to young goaltenders right after Vancouver goes to Demko this year. It's kind of fun. Fogle also makes me feel old. Fogle, fanned on a chance. If you also want to feel old, become a YouTuber in your 40s, and then you look at other YouTubers and you automatically feel old. Stars get a 2-on-1. Reimer makes the cover, and this is where the comeback starts. First, it's McCormick with his first of the season from Geeky at 13:24. So Geeky, everybody's favorite name, he gets on the board. Kane's pressed with 4 minutes left, and just that pressure kept coming, and Dallas couldn't clear it out, and that's when you get into the whole, okay, we'll get another line on the ice. They can't get it out. And then a goal. It's Slavin from Aho and Niederreiter at 16:28. And the thing that happened there was, while Dallas is down, Cogliano ends up being a guy without a stick. Slavin sees that, and he's told as well, go to the net. He did, and he gets the goal. So really smart move by Jacob Slavin. Guryanov, however, answers about 30 seconds later from Ben at 17:04. So that was crazy. So it was tied for like 30 seconds, and then Dallas gets the lead back. The Canes tried to answer. There was a close call at the Canes net in the last minute, but we come out of that period 3-2. Third period, Foxa gets dinged up on a shot block. There was a lot of that tonight. Shots were 4-3 for the Canes, 8 minutes into it. Ottinger stopped a good chance for Hamilton. Slower pace, which I felt might favor the Stars to have that slower pace in the third. You're trying to bring it home, just take some of the emotion out of it. The Canes pressed with 8.5 minutes left. More Ottinger saves, but the Canes kept pressing. This is why they're the number one team in the division. They just keep coming. They keep pressing. And eventually, Hakanpää scores from Geeky and Stahl at 15:46. So, keep in mind, with 1 point tonight, the Canes would clinch a playoff spot. So, to me, I'm like, all right, so it's 3-3, so they're going to clinch a playoff spot, and I wrote it on the board. Hakanpää with 2 goals already in Carolina. And it's interesting, because the whole time he was in Anaheim, I kept saying, Hakanpää's going to get a goal. The guy's got talent. He's not an offensive defenseman, but he should at least have 1. Now he's got 2 in Carolina. He just needed to be traded. Hintz then crashed into the boards. And as a Dallas fan, you have to look at that and say, oh, not Hintz. Anybody but Hintz. Maybe not anybody, but like if Sagan comes back next week and if he crashes into the boards, that's great, perfect, fine. But with Hintz playing through pain as he has all year when he hits the boards like that, and Dallas fans wanted a penalty there, I didn't see one. I legit didn't see one. So yeah, we go to overtime. Canes controlled the first 2 minutes. And they were kind of ragging the puck, and they were doing everything they could to make sure that they kept that control. When the puck goes to Dallas, they scored. Dallas suddenly in the overtime, not too bad. It's Ben from Robertson at 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Jamie Benn, since they moved him to center, he's been really good. They win 4-3 in overtime. They go to 21-15-12. Carolina 31-10-7. And again, with that 1 point, they clinch a playoff spot. So we'll see whether or not that affects Carolina in the game that they have coming up. I believe they play again tomorrow. I believe it's back-to-back, right? So we'll see. 3 stars, Ben, Guryanov, and Geeky. Shots, 14-11 Carolina in the first, 14-11 Dallas in the second. Like I said, it slowed down in the third. The shots were 7-5 Carolina. Only the 1 shot in the overtime, that was Dallas's, the one that matters. Final shots, 32-31 for Carolina. Hits, 24-18 for Dallas. Blocked shots, 17-8 for Dallas. Reimer, 27 saves on 31 shots. Ottinger, 29 saves on 32 shots. And there you go. Dallas wins in overtime again. That's 2 games in a row. It's bizarre. Now, we need to change boards. All right, Nashville. So, as much as I think Montreal solidified their standing, I think Nashville went a long way to solidifying their standing as that final team in the Central. And yeah, what's interesting is this is another one of those games where a team is controlling the play, the puck goes the other way and it's in the net. Team's controlling the play, puck goes the other way, it's in the net. It's kind of how things worked out tonight. So Saros is tested early, very physical Preds early on in this one. It doesn't stay that way, the hits. There was only 32 hits in the game. Trennan was in alone, missed wide. And then it's Sam Bennett. Yes, Sam Bennett continues his run from Duclair and Nudavara at 4 minutes and 49 seconds. So if a guy has 2 A's in a row in his last name, he got on the board twice tonight. Nudavara and Hakanpää. Preds then get a power play and they score on it. It's Granlund from Yossi at 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And it was a nice play by Granlund to knock the puck down and put it in the net. And it was a momentum shift at that stage for the Predators. They played really well the rest of that period. Ellis had a chance for a screen that was saved. The Panthers get a power play. Granlund to kind of nearly connects, doesn't quite go. Predators doing a good job of shot blocking late in that period as well. And yeah, we go to the second period with the score tied at 1. Doesn't stay tied for long. Cousins scores from Haula at 3 minutes and 35 seconds. But power plays. Florida gets a power play. That led to a shorthanded chance, which Bennett broke up. Barkov in beast mode. He had a near miss. Saros then denied Bennett on a really nice move where he deked in close, and Saros still stopped that. The Panthers had the momentum, but they're down 2-1. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, Drieger's done. They take Drieger out, and Bobrovsky goes in the net. So that's another case where a goalie just apparently tweaked something, like Matt Murray with Ottawa the other night. We'll see if Bobrovsky is playing in the back. I think they're back-to-back tomorrow. Third period, Harper lands in the Pens open door. The funny thing is, Harper kind of chirped at the Panthers, but you could tell they didn't do it on purpose. And they mentioned this too, and the announcers mentioned this, and I agree. I'm surprised we don't see more instances of players crashing into that open door at the players' bench. It can be scary. I remember Brock Besser ending up with a horrible injury as a result of that. And it's one of those things where it's not, players don't intentionally do it. It's not, oh, hey, McDavid's coming, quick, open the door. I'll get my stick and we'll yank him in here. It's not, that doesn't happen. You don't see, he's throwing a hit, quick, open the door. But it's just, it does seem to be kind of a dangerous play. But yeah, so Howla would end up scoring from Duchesne when the smoke clears in that one. That makes it 3-1 at 2:39. Now, the Panthers did try to answer. The Panthers had opportunities. They outshot Nashville in the second and third period, and they had a lot of really good chances. Preds were protecting their net. Vetrano had a chance. He was denied. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4 action. Bennett then had a fast break. That was saved. So Sam Bennett with another really good game. But Trennan would score from Janot and Sissons at 9 minutes and 12 seconds. So suddenly it's 4-1 Nashville. And I put up here quality, not quantity. So Florida getting shots, and then the puck goes the other way. That's in the net. And again, I'm watching the Florida feed, so you can tell the Florida announcers are kind of like, what's going on? The Panthers have been the better team, but every time Nashville gets the puck in the other end, it goes in the net. And again, they were quality shots. They were quality opportunities, and that's kind of how that works. Power play then for Nashville, and it was a solid win for them all around. They didn't have to score on it. They didn't. But, yeah, really, really solid all-around game. They win it 4-1. They go to 27-21-2. Florida 31-14-5 with the loss. And if Nashville plays like that from here on out, they're the number 4 seed. 3 stars, Haula, Saros, and Granlund, all Nashville. Shots 13-6 Nashville in the first, 22-5 Florida in the second, 12-9 Florida in the third. Final shots 40-27 Florida. Florida 0 for 2 on the power play. Nashville 1 for 2. Hits 18-14 for Nashville. Block shots 13-5 for Nashville. Drieger saves 14 out of 16. Bobrovsky saves 9 out of 11. Saros saves 39 out of 40. You see Saros is really rounding into form, which is bad news for Dallas. It's bad news for Chicago and anyone else who might mathematically still have a chance. But that'd be Columbus and Detroit, and they don't. So I don't think Detroit still has. Hey, if Detroit still has a mathematical chance, well, good for them. But no. There's got to be a line where you go, yeah, no. There has to be the no line, doesn't there? Has to be. All right. Edmonton. The Oilers. Starting to look like they might very well be the best team in the North. But Toronto still exists. And it'll be really interesting to see between Edmonton and Toronto if they meet in the second round. Who wins that? So, earlier today when I was talking about the teams and how you approach them, and I basically said with Edmonton, McDavid and Draisaitl. This is why I said McDavid and Draisaitl. McDavid by himself can do this. He needs 19 points now in 10 games to get 100. I don't think he gets 100. I think that's a lot to ask. I think asking a guy to score 2 points per game for 10 games is a lot. Can he do it? Yes. Is it probable? Probably not. But tonight, he made an argument that he's going to take a shot at it. Early power play for the Jets, that was a no. The shots were actually 7-2 for the Jets early. 5.5 minutes in, that was the total, and they looked really good. The Oilers then get a power play. It doesn't score. So through most of this first period, things are pretty close. Everybody's got to be pretty happy with the way things are going, whether you're an Oiler or a Jets fan. And then one fan base would be really happy, and the other one, not as much. It's chase on from Larson and Draisaitl at 16:22. And then at 18:31, McDavid decides, I think it's time I get a bunch of points. He scores from Barrie and Puljujarvi at 18:31, and then in the last seconds, there's another press by the Oilers. So it's 2-0 after one, and again, you're looking for some kind of a pushback by Winnipeg to start the second period. Second period, early shot by Nurse was saved. The Oilers press again. They had a 2-on-1 that Wheeler broke up, and then at 3:35, it's McDavid on a great pass by Cahoon at 3:35, makes it 3-0. So that's right about where I put the records over the game, because I was like, yeah, this is going south quickly. At 11:40, Draisaitl scores from Nugent Hopkins, and then Nurse scores from Puljujarvi, and guess who? McDavid at 13:18. So if you're counting along at home, that's 5-0. Now the Jets would get a power play and they'd score on it. So they ruined the shutout. Scheifele from Stastny and Wheeler at 15:06. So they weren't in it. They weren't in this. McDavid then completes the hat trick, the 9th of his career at 16 minutes and 30 seconds. It's 6-1. So it's 6-1 after 2. Hellebuck comes out, Brossoit goes in. Now, the announcers over and over and over were tripping on themselves, talking about how Hellebuck is a Vezina winning goaltender and he's going to bounce back, and maybe they put him in the next game, and he's capable of all this. Listen, Hellebuck's numbers over this 4-game losing streak are troubling. And I don't know if Maurice will come out and admit it, but this is troubling. That Winnipeg is picking the absolute worst time of the year to just look like they're done. Like, and again, those games against Toronto, you could kind of make an argument that, well, if this one goes this way and if this play goes that way. This game, there's no argument at all. So it looks like it's getting worse. We'll see how the next game goes for Winnipeg. Brossoit started the third. I thought Brossoit played relatively well. That being said, Edmonton took their foot off the gas as well. Smith stopped a good Morrissey chance. Another good game for Mike Smith, who does not get the respect he should. This season for Mike Smith has been great, and he's not getting the respect he should for it. I keep seeing, and Smith in the playoffs, it's going to fall apart. So, they're relying on Smith, though. He's been the best goaltender in the North Division. And I can't take that away from him. So, Jets had more shots in this game, for what it's worth. Not much. Fewer shots for both teams in the third period. Smith denied Scheifele twice, and then he denied him a third time as well. So, Scheifele wasn't getting another goal. And the Oilers hang on. Hang on. They win 6-1. They did it. They did it early and just finished it off in the second, basically. They go to 28-16-2. They pass Winnipeg by a point. Winnipeg 27-18-3, and now they're third in the division. And again, if you're not concerned, as Paul Maurice, if you're not concerned as the coach, that's an issue. You have to be 3 stars, all McDavid. Now it was McDavid, Smith, and Nurse. So MSN. Nice, well done. Shots. Winnipeg, 12-10 in the first, 15-13 in the second, and 10-7 in the third. They outshot them in every period. Final shots 37-30. Power plays, Edmonton only had the 1. They didn't score on theirs. Winnipeg had 2. They scored on 1. Hits 32-29 for Winnipeg. So they outshot him and outhit him. Block shots 17-15 for Edmonton. Smith saves 36 out of 37. Hellebuck saves 17 out of 23. And then Brossoit saved all 7. I'm sorry, I'd go with Brossoit next game. You got to win. You got to start winning. You got to start turning this around. I would go with Brossoit the next game. Because Hellebuck getting pulled again. Again, it's at the worst time of the year. But we'll see how things go for Winnipeg from here. Next up, LA and Anaheim. This is the thing with how I do these by, when the games start. Means you're going to end off with 4 teams that likely all 4 of them miss the playoffs. But hey, I watch the games because this is what I do. It's part of my job. So, reverse retro for the Kings, like I wore in the preview. And didn't jinx him either. The reverse retros didn't jinx him, and neither did I. So I'm really proud of that. That made me feel happy. Early chances for the Kings, and they score. Walker from Brown and Kopitar at 5:19. Troy Terry then had a shot that was glove saved by Quick. And then Anderson, Mikey Anderson with, I believe that's his first of the year, right? From Athanasiou and Lemieux at 10:34. And then Kopitar almost made it 3-0. So Stolar's fighting the puck a little bit in that first period. Anaheim definitely fighting the puck in that first period. Iafallo then had a fast break, which nearly clicked. The Ducks went over 10 minutes without a shot. They get a couple before the end of the period to even things up a little bit, but yeah, it was 2-0 LA after the first. Second period, Drysdale, early in the period, he scores from Heinen and Fowler at 3:03. So Jamie Drysdale is scoring. He's doing well. The rest of the team, it's a work in progress. Kings had a fast break. Kempe fired high. Larson fires one wide on a cross-crease pass. Then we get shot attempts being blocked by both teams. So not a lot of shots on net by about the halfway mark of that period. And really throughout the game, you only have 47 shots in the game. Considering how many shot attempts there were, it felt like more of them should have probably been hitting the net. But the blocks were, there's 23 blocks in total. It feels like that's low compared to what I was watching. But anyways, Brown to Kopitar nearly gets one. The Kings were pressing with 5 minutes left. Stolarz denies Lazot's tip shot in front of the net. Blake Lizotte is really good at that crash in the net and the tip shots. So at the end of this season, it'll be interesting to see if he's a guy who ends up sticking around with the Kings, if they end up making him a trade target to fix something else on the roster with other guys coming in, or if Seattle might take an interest in him if he's available, right? Ducks then take a neutral zone penalty. The shorthanded break for Getzlaf, that was saved, but we go into the third period with it 2-1. Ducks finish the kill off, no shots for the LA power play. Early in the season, LA's power play was great. It's not great anymore. Their power play is... It's kind of a mess. It's kind of like they in Minnesota decided to trade power plays. Second shots were also eluding the Ducks. They would get those first shots, but rebounds and secondary chances just weren't there. Kings get another power play. It looked bad. I don't think that one had a shot either. Stolarz stops a chance for Velarde after that was done. The Ducks press with 7 minutes left. Quick with a nice glove stop on Heinen. He wasn't overly busy tonight, but he looked good on some of those shots. With 1:39 left, the Ducks call a timeout. The goaltender gets pulled. What that does is it allows Dustin Brown to get an empty netter at 18:57. They pull the goalie again. That allows Moore to get a goal from Kempe at 19:29 to make it 4-1. A score that flatters the Kings a little bit with the two empty netters, but they go to 18, 22, and 6, keep their slim playoff hopes alive. And for the Ducks, 14, 28, and 7. They've been playing for next year for a while. 3 stars, Quick, Kopitar, and Anderson. Shots, 8-7 LA in the first, 8 apiece in the second, 9-7 LA in the third. Final shots, 25-22 for the Kings. Power plays, Anaheim 0-1, LA 0-2. Hits, 26-19 for Anaheim. Block shots, 12-11 for LA. Stolarz, 21 saves on 23 shots. Quick, 21 saves on 22 shots. And it was about as exciting as a game as you might imagine you would see between two teams that are basically not going to be in the playoffs. Last up, a game that ended up being far more entertaining than it had any right to be, because that's kind of what happens when you have two teams that have kind of some shaky defense on a night. And in the Arizona case, shaky goaltending right out of the gate. So I talked about Hellebuck. I think the same conversation can be had of Kemper. Since Kemper came back from injury, he's just not been the Darcy Kemper we saw last year. Gregor would score at 17 seconds, and it kind of goes through Kemper and kind of banks off Kemper. It's one of those ones that Kemper had mishandled it behind the net, and you got to stop that. So it's 1-0 early. And then Burns scores from Hurdle and Kane at 3:07. Well, Rick Tockett's seen enough, so he called a timeout. I had kind of expected at this point he might pull Kemper. He doesn't, but leaves Kemper in the net, gives him a vote of confidence. Power play then for the Coyotes. That was a no. Sharks get a power play. That was a no as well. Coyotes press with 6 minutes left. Hurdle then had a late chance that was blocked, but it's 2-0 San Jose after 1. Doesn't get better early in the second. Couture, he scores from Patterson and Meyer. That's at 1 minute and 54 seconds. And then at 3:19, Erik Karlsson, who suddenly started scoring goals again. He gets his 6th of the year from Kane. I think he equaled his total from all last season with that one. So, yeah, that makes it 4-0. That one deflected off OEL's stick, but Tocchet decides, well, that's it. Kemper's out, so Aiden Hill goes in. And it seemed to have the desired effect. It seemed to wake up Arizona because Bunting scores from Chychrun and Schmaltz at 4:43. Can we talk about how Jacob Chychrun is having a Norris-level season nobody's talking about because he plays in Arizona? No? Okay. Kozanosh then saved a Chychrun chance, but Keller would score from Schmaltz and Bunting at 10:05. And suddenly a 4-0 game is 4-2. And it is San Jose. This is a team that their defense is interesting. Defensively, they're on the interesting side of things. And it was interesting for the rest of the game. So it's a 2-goal lead, but it's San Jose, right? Burns had a point shot, deflects wide. Hill robs Timo Meier. And then there was a late Sharks power play. So we go to the third. Chychrun had been hurt blocking a shot late in the second, and it looked like, well, he's injured. I think it hit him on the wrist. It was ugly. There were a lot of shot blocks tonight. So, but he comes back in the third period. Chychrun might be a cyborg. I'm not saying he is, but I'm not saying he's not either. So Terminator Chychrun decides he's getting a goal from Goligoski and Hayden at 2:02, and Chychrun can blast him from the point. He can get garbage goals in front of the net. He's got a really good first pass. He's got a good pass also on the power play. He's a pretty excellent defenseman that, again, not getting talked about because he's in Arizona. Power play for the Coyotes. We then get a minute and 25 seconds of 4-on-4. I felt kind of bad for OEL. He takes a couple of penalties in that third period and kind of almost dies on both of them. I guess he's committed to tripping and whatever. The other thing that's notable, and I know that I think it's Craig Morgan that covers the Coyotes. He tweeted out about this during the game, that the ice in San Jose is kind of known for being bad. There were a lot of Coyotes that were going down during this game. A lot of Coyotes falling down on the ice. And it definitely seemed like there were problems with that ice tonight. Which, of course, if you're San Jose and you're used to it, you're far more likely not to fall down than a team that may not be used to it. So you're just glad that guys don't get hurt when that's the case. So Hill stops a Carlson shot. Another Coyotes power play. Big saves by Kozanosh at that point. And then Barabanov. Barabanov scores a goal from Kane at 11:17. That's Barabanov's first NHL goal. Kudos to him for that. So that made it 5-3. OEL then takes his second penalty of the third. And again, he kind of falls over and his skates clip the other player and bring him down. And it looked like he caught an edge and went. Chychrun, because they kill off that penalty. Kessel was getting opportunities, but he was empty. And keep in mind, Phil Kessel in third period's normally a very good scorer. But Chychrun would get a goal from Hunt at 15-16. Right before I recorded this, I double-checked that it still says Chychrun. It may end up being Derek Brassard's goal. So that may end up being an assist for Chychrun, because it may have gone off of Brassard's stick as well as Chychrun's. But at this point, it still says Chychrun on the board, but I'm acknowledging that may be Brassard's goal. Chychrun then nearly scored again. So, yeah, he was on fire tonight. Goalie pull with 40 seconds left. This is where San Jose really impressed me. They were trying to get Hill out, couldn't. San Jose wasn't giving up the puck. San Jose did a very good job of making sure they couldn't pull the goalie until late. And then when they did, Kane hits the empty net from Ferraro at 19:51. The Sharks win this one 6-4. They go to 19, 24, and 5. That is their first win in 9 games. 9. If you're not following San Jose, you may not have realized they'd lost 8 in a row. Now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Arizona drops to 21, 23, and 5. Huge blow to their playoff hopes, this one. 3 stars, Kane, Chychrun, and Barabanov. Shots, 8-7 San Jose in the first, 12-7 San Jose in the second, 14-11 San Jose in the third. Final shots, 34-25 in favor of the San Jose Sharks. Power plays, both teams go 0 for. Arizona 0 for 3, San Jose 0 for 4. Hits, 35-19 for Arizona. Block shots were 11 each. Kemper saves 7 out of 11. He gets pulled. Hill saves 21 out of 22. I like Aiden Hill. I've been saying it for 3 years. I'm still saying it now. I think Aiden Hill's a good goaltender. If you don't agree, you can email me at Aiden Hill may not be a really good goaltender. The THG might be completely wrong about this at gmail.gov.au.ca.us.ru. It kind of goes around the world. Kozanosh saves 21 out of 25 for his first NHL win, and he's earned it. And his save percentage was lousy because he plays behind that defense in San Jose. And again, you know, people will talk a lot about the goaltending, but that defense, it's a misadventure, and it almost cost them tonight. But San Jose gets the win, and they finally get away from that losing streak. So we'll see whether or not San Jose might be able to heat up and give their fans something to look forward to for next season. All right, let me know your thoughts regarding these games in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. It means a ton. And if you're left-handed and you get vaccinated, let the nurse know that you're left-handed, because they put the needle in your left arm. It hurts. I wrote all these notes on both boards with my left arm. It's dead. So let them know, because I feel kind of dumb for not saying, can you put that in the right? It just didn't occur to me until I started doing the boards tonight. I was like, oh no. Oh, okay. All right. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Just consider that a PSA. And that's for tetanus shots or any others as well. So I will talk to you guys again soon. Have yourself a wonderful night.